It's up! Cobra Kai, drop it. It is taking over the valley. There's nothing I can do about it. All right, Cenk, Uygur, John Iadarola, Adrienne, Lawrence, ready to have a fantastic show for you guys. Fascism is coming. Okay, that's later. That's later. Okay, part of it is already here. Tucker Carlson. So we will get into all of that. Today's a good day. Food for thought trivia today for the members. We're like Tyra Banks and Oprah combined, giving away $100 gift cards, true gift cards, real $100 to 100 members today. 100 members, $100 for 100 members. So tyt.com/join. Hit the join button below on YouTube. Perfect day to sign up. Let's get started. John Iadarola.
Okay, I'm sure that's a reference to someone famous in baseball or something, but I don't get it.
No,
and I don't like it.
No, that was just a new thing I invented.
Okay, it's an original. Okay, yeah. Still don't like it. Okay, let's jump into the news then, everybody. There are still thousands and thousands and thousands of stolen documents that Donald Trump took to Mar-A-Lago that we do not know the contents of. But as of the last day, we do know the contents of a few, and it is not looking good. According to a source from inside of the investigation, at least one of the documents seized by the FBI describes Iran's missile program. Okay, other documents described highly sensitive intelligence work aimed at China. And so from the very early on in this investigation, we had heard through leaks that there were documents that were of a national security nature. There had been talk about programs or documents having to do with nuclear programs. We don't have any more information about that right now. But it has been easy over the past few months to forget about those early leaks and to start to focus on, for instance, Trump's conversations with Bob Woodward, where he's talking about letters to the dictator of North Korea. Some of them were letters, yes, and others were about the most sensitive sorts of information. And the sources have said that this is not just a thing where it would look really bad if these were to come out. There would be ongoing damage to America's ability to conduct these sorts of intelligence operations. They say that any unauthorized disclosures of specific information in the documents would pose multiple risks. People aiding US intelligence efforts could be endangered, and collection methods could be compromised. Some of the people referenced in the documents could still be assisting the United States, and their lives would almost certainly be forfeit either in Iran or in China were that to be discovered. Not to mention the fact that were details of whatever is in these documents to come out, I have a feeling that neither Iran nor China would like it and might retaliate in some fashion. And so we don't know about, again, all of the other documents. They do say that the classified documents about Iran and China are considered among the most sensitive, which it's a sentence that's structured as if it's supposed to make us feel better, but I would really rather that those were the most sensitive. I don't like the idea that there's other stuff that's comparable to missile technology or defense, spies that are embedded inside of China and things of that sort. And so they are leaving open the door in that statement that there are potentially even more sensitive documents. And remember, these are the sorts of things Donald Trump specifically chose to steal from the United States government when he's finally booted from the White House.
Yeah, so in order to get to the right result here, the most important part is for us to understand the depth of the problem and to ignore the zombies. So I'm going to explain what that means in a second. First, let's do the usual comic/tragic situation that always arises with Donald Trump. So first subpoena goes, not subpoena, the first request goes out. Hey, it looks like you've stolen some of the documents, Mr. President. Could you please return them? Obviously, there'll be no consequences. You're among the elites. We're ever so sorry to bother you for having caught you as breaking the law, but can you return them? He returns some of them. In that batch, there's 184 classified documents, 25 of them are top secret. The archives are like, geez, this is crazy. Why did he take these home? This is terrible, ridiculous. No, wait a minute. I don't think this is all of them, right? Then they ask him again, and this time, think about it, guys. I mean, forget the right wingers. I'm just talking to independents, okay? The right wingers are the zombies. I'll get back to them. Why? Then he turns over another 38 classified documents, and 17 of them are top secret. Why didn't he turn over that second batch with the first batch?
Weird.
Right? Like, why is he constantly trying to hold on? Then the archives are like, Jesus, I don't think this is all of it either, right? So then they send somebody down there because Trump's like, oh, what? I'm cooperating, right? I gave you everything already. What do you want, right? So they go, because they have internal sources, they go to the storage room, and there's boxes that look like, just like the other boxes that held classified information. And Trump's guys are like, yeah, those boxes are not the same as the other boxes, and you're not allowed to look. We're not allowed to look. Those look like top secret documents. No, you're not allowed to look, and besides, they're not there, okay? And Trump and his lawyers signed the thing saying, no, we don't have any more. We don't have any more. And then you see on tape at Mar-A-Lago them moving the boxes afterwards,
yep.
Right? Because Trump told them to move, and the inside sources say, yeah, Trump told me to move them after he told you there weren't any more documents. That's unbelievable lies, right? And then they raid, and then they find all of these new documents, tens of thousands of documents, so many of them classified, so many of them top secret. And now we find out, oh my God, as we were worried, it's the top secret information related to weapons programs of Iran and China. It just really, and our potential spies in those countries whose lives are endangered. It just doesn't get any worse than this. And so now that returns us to the zombies. In a rational world, guys, that's it, we're done with it. You arrest Donald Trump, and you follow the regular course of law, rule of law and order, right? No, there's a third of the country that goes, no, he magically declassified them by thinking about them. And besides, the FBI planted them, even though he says they were there, and that they were messed up his already organized documents. And besides which, it was the ghost of Hugo Chavez. So, but what we're doing, and this is very, very, very important, is we're wasting time arguing with zombies. So if you're a prosecutor, you're a bureaucrat, you're a legislator, whoever you are in government today, you must protect democracy. And if you let them keep breaking the law, this is how fascists test the system. They test. What can we get away with? What can we get away with? Hey, why don't I steal the national secrets? Maybe I sell the national secrets. What can I get away with? What will they let me do? Because if I get back into power, what if I steal the whole country? I just say there is no more democracy. They let me get away with everything, right? So you must uphold the law. Don't do anything unfair. Don't arrest people that didn't do anything wrong. That's mental. That's what the other side does. But when someone breaks the law, you must uphold the law. If you don't, they're gonna breach the walls. Fascism isn't coming, it's here. All right, Adrienne.
Yeah, without a doubt, it is very much here. And just, hearing this news today was incredibly sobering. It's not anything that I had not fathomed in some way, given how terrible he is as a human being and how much he's willing to sell out the US government and the US people for whatever will fill his coffers. But just the degree of treason, this ode to espionage, the trash that is Trump, it just keeps hitting. And the fact that there are people out there in the field right now who are working to secure, hopefully maybe even getting some of this information, gathering more intel, or they are now put in jeopardy. It's a potential of lives out there of people who could be put at risk for harm, because who knows who Trump has shared some of this information with. But we know that he had stolen this information. He's stolen documents. And as you noted, Cenk, he's continued to push the system. And he has done it all under this protection of the fact that he is former president. And it is completely and utterly disheartening to see that our system continues to allow this man to run amok. And especially this man, he talked a big game back in the day, what about being so tough on China, also claiming to be tough on Iran. And it's clear that he is willing to compromise America's national security, largely for his own financial gain, because I'm certain that's what he has. at the end of the day, that is what he is doing this for. And it's utterly disgusting, but it's equally problematic if our government does nothing about it.
Yeah, and you said right there, who knows who he shared the documents with. We also don't know that he even knows who saw those documents. I mean, he just left them in boxes in a storage room that wasn't locked. Stuff about weapons technology and who our spies are and how they operate. He doesn't even necessarily know who might have wandered from the ballroom over into that storage room, took a few little quick pictures or took the documents and then walked away. Maybe they emptied out some folders. Maybe that's why they were empty folders. And the only thing I would add to what you said, Cenk, was you sketched out the multiple levels of this where he kept holding on to more documents. There is the one extra layer that the DOJ says they still haven't accounted for all the documents. They still think he has more. You talked about them loading the boxes onto the plane. We have no idea where those documents went. We might never find those. I mean, maybe the DOJ is wrong, or probably they're not, and God only knows where the documents are now. Even after being raided, and there's an investigation, he didn't turn over all the documents. Now, normally at this point, I would just move forward to these next couple of elements, but I want to ask a very serious question to the panel. Do we care about Donald Trump's response to this most recent development? I'll read it if you want, but I don't have to.
But the reason why it's relevant, John, is because remember, for the zombies, all the facts that we just gave you that are absolutely indisputable are irrelevant. They're just gonna listen to the dribblings of their mad king that John's gonna read for you now, because I vote read it. Because guys, here's the thing you gotta understand is about the zombies. They genuinely think that what John's about to read you is true. Because a lot of people in DC think, oh, they don't really think that. No, they don't really, no. Yeah. You're just projecting. No, they do actually believe this. Yeah. And that's why it's so dangerous.
Okay, yeah, well, and look, one reason to believe that it could be true is I found it on a website called Truth Social.
Oh, well, there you go.
So that sounds pretty reputable. Yeah. So with that said,
and it's a truth. It's not a tweet. It's a truth.
It's just right there in the name.
It's perfectly Orwellian.
Anyway, here is his response to this revelation, which is definitely true. He says the FBI and the Department of Justice, which paid a man $200,000 to spy on me and offered a $1 million bounty to try and prove a totally made up and fake dossier about me, they went down in flames, are now leaking nonstop on the document hoax to the fake news. Who could ever trust corrupt, weaponized agencies, and that includes NARA, who disrespects our Constitution and Bill of Rights to keep and safeguard any records? That doesn't even sound like him. I don't think he wrote that part. But he goes on to say they've lost millions and millions of pages of information from previous presidents. And then he decides, like 50% of the time, he thinks that the other side planted stuff, and then 50% of the time he doesn't. Today's a planting day, and so NARA planted the documents in Mar-A-Lago, I guess, or subtracted from documents. I have been thinking about that all day, and I have no idea what he means by that.
Yeah.
Look, what do you mean they subtracted from the, but then they're not missing it because they have it, and they can't claim that you had it since they subtracted it. So I don't know what that means.
He doesn't know what that means. But to be fair to Trump, we've interviewed a lot of Trump fans, and they like that hodgepodge explanation. They like things like that because one of them thinks, oh, they obviously planted it. And the other one thinks, fake news, document hoax, and doesn't know what that means. The other one thinks, well, of course they erased the documents. And you're like, but what does that mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. The God Lord Trump said it, so it is decreed as such. Yeah. And so they just cherry pick whichever one they want. I mean, guys, think about it. The end of that quote was, we will never know, will we? Wait, if you didn't do anything wrong, you would know. And then you would tell people, especially you. You would tell everybody you didn't do anything wrong, right? Instead, he ends it with, I guess we'll never know. No, that's what a guilty guy says. Because he's like, I bet you can't find out, right? But guys, this goes back to my thing about debating with the zombies. I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think the Department of Justice, the FBI, archives, you name it, everyone who's charged with prosecuting this is scared out of their minds. And they're scared because, oh, what if Trump's zombie army attacks? And they say that we're not being fair enough. Did we actually delete negative minus the documents? I don't know what that means, right? And so, no, stop responding to them. It's like Albert Einstein debating with third graders about physics. And he's like taking them seriously. He's like, well, okay, what do you think E equals? Right? No, they're zombies. Move on, enforce the law. Don't go an inch above the law. That would be crazy. We don't want to do things that are wrong while we're trying to fight the bad guys, okay? But you must have the courage to go forward and uphold the law. Adrienne, last word.
Yes, okay, so I will definitely say he did not write that little True Social post because it was grammatically correct and I don't think there was a spelling error. So, and also the words were probably at a New York Times, 12th grade level. It's just not him. But what also seems to very much be not him is being forthright in any way, which is very much how he plays things. But it is extremely, extremely apparent that DOJ is very concerned about actually pushing and moving forward. The leash that this man has is so incredibly long. Are they going to do anything in terms of Trump? Because the evidence is mounting up so much that how can you not start questioning the integrity of the Department of Justice when they have so much evidence against Trump, yet they are not doing anything? And I'm sure they are working on the case behind closed doors without a doubt, but my God, if anything, slap some handcuffs, perp walk him, do something that says to the American people that failing to follow the law will produce consequences, because otherwise he's still out here running amok. Who knows what he's doing, who he's talking to. I'm sure he still has that Secret Service detail, but my God, I just don't trust anyone at this point in time. But I would hope to trust in our justice system that they will actually move forward with prosecuting him and maybe do it post haste.
Yeah, you know what, come to think of it, you guys convinced me that the back half is totally written by a lawyer and not him. Because that's why they say, I guess we'll never know, will we? Because the lawyers know he's lying. So as a lawyer, they can't write down, it's fake, it's wrong, they're lying, they can't write it down. So they refer to, I guess we'll never know, will we? Right, guys? We created enough doubt.
Yeah.
Because that's how lawyers think, right? That's how defense counsel thinks. And at this point, there's only one place where, and I don't know how long this is gonna last, where you can't actually lie and get away with it. That's courts. If you go into court and you lie, there are consequences. Alex Jones kind of found that out, didn't he? Right? Are you going to just bring him into court? Just have him say anything. Have him say good morning. He'll lie. He'll be like, you'll bring him in on a Wednesday, but good morning, it's a Saturday. Okay, and I'll tell you what, this Saturday was erased by the National Archives, but I found it and brought it back. Okay, so just bring him into court. Bring him into court. He's broken half a dozen laws. Do your goddamn job. Have the courage to stand up for our democracy.
Yeah. Well, they put out the actual subpoena for him on the January 6th committee, so maybe it's not a court, but he would be under oath. Okay, I think we should probably take our first break. When we come back, though, someone was brought into court earlier today, and it didn't go great for them. We'll give you the details after this.
Beautiful hair.
All right, back on TYT. Cenk, John, and Adrienne with you guys. We got a lot more news, John.
We in fact do.
Oh, sorry, no, I'm pulling it back right away. No, such a thing I do to John. You think I can do that to Anna?
It's gonna be so hard to get going again.
Yeah, you think I can do that to Anna? No. Okay. Anyways, one covert ninja and Sarah Butler. We love you guys. They just became members. I just want to show love to the members. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
Yeah, look at what you did to me, members. What are we even talking about again? I don't remember. Let's go to the C block. Okay, fine, we can talk about Bannon. Steve Bannon was finally sentenced today, and it did not go well for him. Bear in mind, before you hear the details, it was a Trump-appointed judge who sentenced him, and notably, Donald Trump is not president anymore, and so no pardons are coming, at least for right now. Stay tuned for 2024. In any event, he was found guilty on 2 counts of contempt of Congress, and that has now led to a 4-month sentence. 2 technically, but running concurrently. So in theory, he'll serve 4 months in prison. He also has a fine of $6,500, but that does not mean that he is going to be in prison tonight. He is going to be able to appeal this. He has already said that he is going to, and while that appeals process plays out, he will be free. He apparently has a couple of weeks to actually file the appeal. I don't know exactly how long it'll take for that entire plot process to play out. Perhaps Adrienne will. My guess would be absolutely forever. I feel like it's going to take a year or two and he's going to be perfectly fine. For all we know, he will be present for the next insurrection early January 2025. But stay tuned for that as well. In any event, the feds wanted more. They wanted 6 months rather than 4. They wanted a $200,000 fine rather than just the $6,500, which I understand. Steve Bannon's gonna do an episode of his show. He's gonna ask for his impoverished viewers to bail him out, which they will. They will give him their last cent. He will pay absolutely nothing, but he could, at least in the end up spending some time in prison. What do you think?
Yeah, the $6,500 part is a joke. The guy has Seinfeld money, unfortunately. Like, he was literally a producer on Seinfeld. And he talks about the liberal media, he's got his anti-Semitism, etc. He made his money, almost all his money, from Seinfeld. Let's just note that for the record. And then after making a gazillion dollars from Seinfeld, he then robbed his own viewers of like $1 million or whatever to build a wall, and then bought, like, him and his friends bought like yachts and cars, and because they think, oh, guys, you gotta understand, the right wing is a giant neon sign to all con men. Come rob these folks, okay? So guys like con men like Steve Bannon go, am I gonna go to the left wing? No, they're smart. I'm not gonna. They'll never buy what I'm selling. I'm just gonna go rob the right wing, right? So that's what he's in the middle of doing. And despite all that, 6,500, it's nothing. Okay, 4 months in prison. Okay. I mean, he's gonna try to drag it out until you get to 2024. Then Trump's gonna pardon him on the first stage. By the way, you think he's not gonna do it? If people in Washington are so nuts, they live in their own insane bubble. That's almost as crazy as the Trump bubble. Trump's gonna pardon everyone on his first day. Every January 6th rioter, everyone who got convicted of insurrection. He's gonna let them all go instantly. He's Bane. Okay, but the people want to say, oh no, that's too much. He wouldn't do that. That's too much. On which planet, right? Which alternate universe? So no, so they got to get him in jail before then. But really, 4 months, it's okay. The main thing is he has to actually comply with the subpoena. If he doesn't comply with this legal subpoena from Congress, and Adrienne, I kick it to you because I don't know the answer to this. So if he serves 4 months, is he free to go? Then he doesn't have to answer Congress's question, or do you do it again?
You do it again. Yeah, we're going back through this. Yeah, it's really. It's interesting because as much as the federal government really wanted to push the max here, trying to get as much money as possible with a $200,000 fine, also seeking the 6 months, 4 months is pretty strong for this kind of charge. It's just a matter of giving him the time to do what he wishes while he files this appeal. And I know that he has 14 days to do that. And then the DC federal court there, Court of Appeals, it's going to review it. And the thing is generally it's the chief judge of the court who disseminates cases. And who knows, because that court there may not be down for the nonsense and may actually want to move things along. So I wouldn't be surprised if that appeal was handled at somewhat of an expedited basis, if not having DOJ submit such a request so that they could hopefully put Bannon back in handcuffs and put him in jail. Because the more time that he spends away from actually facing consequences, the more opportunity he has to rile up Trump's base and to cause all sorts of chaos and to continue to threaten our democracy. And the fact is that for anything to be a deterrent, it needs to be swift, severe, and certain. And here there was some certainty. It wasn't as swift as possible, and there is just a little bit of severity. And the DOJ, the government, really needs to step up, as well as the court system, even though I can, to some extent, kind of give a tip of a hat here in terms of what they did.
Yeah, if I can just add one little element, last element of me being Buzz Killington, on them potentially doing it again if he doesn't respond to the subpoena at that point. Let's bear in mind that we can hypothesize about whether Trump might be president in 2024 to pardon him, but it is looking extremely unlikely that there will be a January 6th commission in 4, 5, 6 months even existing to still have a subpoena out for.
Yeah, John, actually, it's funny you said that because I was gonna say a variation of that. I realized as we were talking, wait a minute, he doesn't have to wait till 2024. It's possible that if the Republicans win the House in 2022, which is actually very likely now, that they'll just come and go, what subpoena?
Yeah.
We're Congress now, and we don't want him to testify. So this is a moot issue. So now the crime happened in the past, so I think they have to still prosecute that. But again, I go to Adrienne here because I'm not positive. Would that materially help his appeal if the new Congress goes, nah, we don't want him to testify?
Well, the court could consider it if they wanted to some extent, to argue that to some extent that this is moot. But the fact is that he's already gone through the criminal justice system. And so it is in the hands of the criminal justice system, and the Court of Appeals will make that judgment based on whether he complied and what he did, what he needed to do. It's so incredibly sad, as you've noted, the thought that the House ends up flipping, then there's not going to be any continuation. There's not going to be any accountability. Yeah. And I'm just really bummed about that.
Oh no, I just saw the future and it ain't pretty. So Congress could easily, if the Republicans win the House, they could easily do this, and Trump will put a lot of pressure on them to do this. Say, hey, we don't want the subpoena anymore. And then they finish up the case, because that case is about things that happened in the past. Adrienne just explained to you what the law is, so they'd have to actually put him in prison. And when they do, Goebbels, Tucker Carlson and the other right-wing media will scream, political prisoner, political prisoner. Oh my God, Congress says they don't want him to testify, but they're putting him into prison because he wouldn't testify to Congress. Oh my God, and then they'll do good tears. Oh, they enforce the law against the right winger, right? And they'll try to take the mantle of victim and in favor of freedom, and they'll paint the Democrats as the fascists.
Yeah.
And by the way, we just saw the poll. Guys, things are in disastrous shape. Earlier this week, where they asked who's the biggest a major threat to democracy. Okay, Trump came in at 45%, but Biden came in at 38%. And you're like, what? Why? Why would Grandpa Joe's barely awake a threat to democracy?
Didn't he attack the Capitol? Somebody did.
No, by the way,
the Capitol?
There was a poll where a majority of Republicans, like a massive majority of Republicans, thought it was Biden's fault that the Capitol got attacked. Okay, no, guys, they don't live on this planet. We're trying to debate zombies. I'm telling you, they don't live in this reality. So they think Biden did January 6th, Trump is perfectly innocent, and that the Democrats are a threat to democracy because they bother to count the votes and then recount them and audit them and then go to court and verify them. And they say, oh yeah, that's how you steal democracy, by counting the votes. No, you don't count the votes. Today, Tucker Carlson is saying Kari Lake's victory will be legitimate only if she wins. Kari Lake, if you lose, will you say you lost? Nope.
No.
Nope.
No.
They're coming for democracy. So you got to enforce the law. I could tell you to go vote for Democrats, not because they're great, but as usual, because the other side is now significantly fascist. But me saying it isn't going to make a difference. It's a giant country. Democratic leadership sucks. They didn't make their case. We're in bad times.
100%.
Big time.
Well, why don't we turn to another topic? Maybe a few more of those zombies you were talking about, but whenever you're ready, we can launch right into this first video. So those were protesters who showed up at Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's town hall, being immediately counter-protested by several women standing in front of them. They were fired up about a lot of different stuff. There were some signs about UN conspiracy theories to get rid of humans or something. They apparently had a problem with her support for the LGBTQ community, saying that only people who are heterosexual should be allowed to have homes or something. One woman shouted out, there are only two effing genders, I guess. In any event, that went on for a while, and it was obviously impossible for her to have the actual town hall, which was supposed to be about a number of different topics, including marijuana legalization, crime, a number of other topics. She apparently got frustrated, I guess, and this is how she ended up responding. And that was the dance that exploded every right-wing head in the world. I almost said white wing, but it's the same thing, whatever. They did not like that at all. They were freaking out about it. We're gonna get to some of the responses, but maybe we can pause here for a second. Should she have done the dance, or was she being uncouth?
What, is this a question? Is this really a question? I don't debate zombies. She can dance to anything she likes. Okay, they had a decent beat, to be fair to the zombies. Okay, and her supporters had already started chanting another thing with it, right? So she's also, in a sense, chanting with the supporters. But I don't debate zombies. I couldn't, if you gave me 10 years to think of what was wrong with that clip, I'd be like, the plant doesn't match the other plant in the other drawing. What are we talking about? What is wrong with this clip? I don't understand anything, right? And they're like, can you believe she danced a little bit? She moved her body. How could she do that? Are we against dancing now? Is this now the footloose era of the zombies? Okay, and by the way, you remember those fake progressive peace activists that went to our town hall the other day that were Republicans? People are like, no, they could have been on the left, and these people could be peace activists. They could be on the left. I mean, they hate. There's only two genders, but they could be on the left. You never know. Were we still doing these debates? Come on. You're all embarrassing.
I think these ones are explicitly supporters of the woman who's running against AOC, technically.
Yeah, the other ones were explicitly right wingers trolling you. If you fell for that and thought they were progressives, super embarrassing. Okay, Adrienne.
Yeah, no, absolute and utter joke. But yeah, no, AOC can move to a beat because it's like, if you're gonna give me a beat, I'm gonna serve it. So here we go. Well, it's like, come on, you brought the party, so let's go ahead and get this done. If you want less from me, give me less. But otherwise, I worked what you gave me to work with. And so I fully respect AOC for moving to the beat and having a good time, making the most out of it. Lemons, lemonade. So I'm a fan.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get to some demonstrations of the insanity I was talking about. You've now seen AOC's dance. Okay, now right wingers aren't gonna like it. We understand that going in. But I want you to take a look at what a Newsmax host said about it, and you tell me if it makes one lick of sense.
I don't know if we need to do a wellness check on AOC or if we can actually make fun of this. She might have some mental health issues there, but let's just pretend she's sane for the sake of the argument here. Which is the cringier moment, her Ricky Ricardo impersonation or her dance moves?
I don't know what. We live in different galaxies. This is the multiverse. I don't know what they saw.
But when the multiverses have connected, like we've accidentally intersected.
It's an incursion in the language of Marvel.
Yeah, because we all just saw the same video. Everything's a Rorschach test now, okay? We got a bigger one later in the show. But that guy sees the unhinged right winger yell, "There's only two genders!" And he thinks, oh, that's a person who's reasonable. And he sees AOC dancing like this to their beat, and he's like, is she insane? I mean, what do you do with them? Am I supposed to debate it? Adrienne.
Yeah, from that man's nonsense, it's clear he doesn't season his food, and how he was so offended by her dancing. It is not something that is called within his ministry. It offends him and upsets him, and that's a him issue. But the thing that is a bigger issue and such a great issue is how AOC was coming out and speaking on behalf and uplifting support to the LGBTQ plus community, and speaking on behalf of rights and uplifting. And I saw a number of people on Twitter today very much uplifting AOC in the reality that she's out there using her voice to stand up, and yet people are coming to try to tear her down in the process of trying to tear down, whether it's trans rights or gay rights. And it's just incredibly pathetic that they're willing to lie about her dancing and this entire video and everything we've seen, simply to try to distort and really kind of detract from her message. And it's laughable, all of it.
Yeah. Well, this next bit we're gonna show you, also laughable, but more in a sad way. It won't actually make you laugh. You'll know why as soon as you see this person's face. But here is what Dave Rubin had to say about AOC briefly dancing a little.
Listen, I'm AOC. I'm standing here. Nobody likes me. The jig is up. The grift is up. People are getting it. Nobody likes the woke. I don't know. My accent just severely changed in the middle of that. Look, everyone's had it with the wokesters. I hope and pray that her district flips. There is a chance. There's a chance all over the place. New York might flip with Lee Zeldin over Hochul. I mean, everything is up in the air right now. And I think the one way that we can really model in America going forward, sort of based on some of the principles of freedom that are happening right here in Florida, is that we're gonna have to basically say, you know what? That moment where the squad took over and the racism took over and the drag queens and all of this stuff took over, it's in the mirror now, it's in the back mirror, and we can say, Ayo, see you later.
Oof. Deeply sad. I know that I disagree with him, so I'm supposed to like delight in him making an utter fool of himself, but it just, I'm too much of a lib, I guess, too much of a lefty. It just hurts me deep in the stomach to see him embarrassing himself like that on a daily basis.
Guys, AOC you later? Oh, Jesus, that's so bad. Okay, so the accent, now to be fair, because we're the fairest show in America, AOC did do an accent. So I want to give you that context because you didn't see it in the video, okay? But that doesn't give Dave Rubin a right to do an accent of folks he doesn't agree with and wants to make fun of.
Whatever accent that was.
Whatever that was. And he's like, oh, my accent changed in the middle. Did it? What was that?
I don't know.
But the reason he does that is because the right wing thinks, oh, people say Dave Rubin isn't funny. Look at how he made fun of Latinos. I had a big laugh. Ha ha, Latinos. Ha ha, we laugh at you. But when there's supposed to be a punchline, for them, the racism is the punchline. Okay, so every part of them is super embarrassing. You remember when Dave Rubin used to pretend to be a classical liberal or whatever he was saying? Now he's blaming AOC because she's racist. I mean, he's not even trying to make sense.
Yeah.
And so he was, in a sense, again, to be fair to him, he was the original Tulsi Gabbard. He was the first one to come out and go, oh yeah, I'm on the left, but I gotta tell you, man, the left really bothers me. The right is so correct. Then he bought literally a $6 million house. Okay, when he was working here, ain't no guy got $6 million, okay? Where did he get that money from? He's the least funny, least entertaining, least interesting host in America. Where the hell did you get the money from, Dave? Man, selling out, unfortunately, pays a lot. But then you gotta do this. You have to dance for them.
Ugh.
And it's like, John's right, it's gut-wrenching. I don't even wanna see my worst enemy have to dance for the right wing like that.
And something also that kind of really just, does Dave Rubin know what his voice sounds like? Besides the whole terrible accent, like, it's like, is this really what you wanna do? You wanna try to feign some type of Latin accent in some way? Like, he should just not speak in its entirety. Like, I don't know, give me some bass in the voice, do something, because it's just not working for me. So, it's like the little racism thing is cute, but even aside from that, I just would prefer his silence. That's all I have.
Yeah, I'll second that. I want to play one more video. I know we don't have much time, but only because everybody's going to see her dance, and a lot of people are going to see a variety of different right wingers losing their mind. God only knows what Ben Shapiro is going to say about her dancing right there. But what generally a lot of people will not see is that they will take all of that and then say, oh look, she's unpopular. Her constituents don't like her. She can't talk substance. They won't show you what happened after that protest, when she finally did get back able, once they quieted down a bit, to talk about what people came to the town hall to actually talk about. And so let's see her talk substance and see whether her constituents actually support her.
What we did in the Bronx is that anyone who got admitted from a gunshot wound, a stab wound, etc., immediately got flagged for the Stand Up to Violence program. And here's what we did. We brought on only not just a doctor to stitch the person up. We brought in a social worker, we brought in mentors, we brought in housing specialists, and you know what we found? We brought in psychiatrists, we brought in psychologists, all of them. You know what we found? Here's what we found, here's a fact. We reduced reoccurrence of crime by more than 50%.
Yeah, see, that's the clip the right wing doesn't want you to see.
Of course, why are they attacking her? Because she's unpopular? No, they're attacking her because she's popular. And that's because she's really, really good at this. Good at policy, good at speaking about policy, good at energizing people. That's why they attack her 24/7. If you see them attacking someone, understand that they view that person as a threat. They're a threat because they're standing up for you and for truth and yes, for justice.
Yeah. And so it was so good to see, just, because they are attacking her because not only is she good, but she's effective. Yeah. And so hearing her talk about the success rate of the changes that they made and the investment that she made into her community there, like her constituents were on fire and they were so incredibly happy. And that's the kind of stuff I want to see more of, even if the right wing wants to focus on the fact that she can hold a beat.
Okay, I think it's time for a second break. When we come back though, lots more to get to, don't go anywhere.
All right, back on TOT, Cenk, John, and Adrienne with you guys. Well, one of our super chat folks wrote in. I think this is a very important point, so I wanted to read it to you guys. Brookhouse Mama 98 said, "I agree with Cenk. John's hair looks like he's cosplaying Don Johnson."
Yes, yes, I was that. Sonny Crockett, I was dying for that. Going through your Don Johnson face, bro. You're putting the John in Johnson. It's killing me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna have to Google some of this once the show is done because I don't.
I told her. Okay. You look like Don Johnson.
Okay. I want to be very clear. I didn't do anything to my hair.
Yeah,
it's getting longer.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I didn't do anything.
Okay, Brickhouse Mama, if you remember, $100 Blue Apron gift card.
If I can find you, I'm taking it back. You don't get a gift card.
You get that kind of agreement from Adrienne. You get a gift card. Okay, new members who could win those gift cards: Al McCarr, Rachel Casey, Brittany Stanley. People are getting it, man. Food for Thought trivia. We'll give away. You thought that was a big deal. $100 gift cards tonight on the bonus episode for members. All right, John, what's next?
Nothing good. Nothing good. Let's jump into this.
People who neither discovered nor built this land have been led to believe that America is theirs and theirs alone.
Once again, calling out a specific race by name. What does this look like in a year or 5 years or 10 years? What kind of country do you live in? Well, a country at war with itself, race war.
That is Wednesday's monologue from Tucker Carlson, who decided to focus on Tiffany Cross of MSNBC. She rightly points out that America is not the sole property of white people. And through Tucker logic, that becomes Tiffany Cross wants to murder all white people. It gets even more explicitly racist, if that's possible, in this.
Look, a lot of folks in that Capitol insurrection, some of these folks were white women. What do you say about this wing of white women who have been radicalized and are enablers to this very dangerous domestic terrorism movement that we've seen increase quite rapidly?
So it's not just whites, it's white women. Their women are bad too. And women, of course, are the key to reproducing the white race, which is clearly a threat, as she says again and again, to you and your family. They're dangerous. They want to hurt you. Now, don't be fooled by the fact that Tiffany Cross can barely speak a coherent sentence. She was a communications major, apparently, according to the internet. That didn't work.
I don't know Tiffany Cross. I don't know her politics. I don't see what possible problem he could have had with her ability to articulate her own thoughts in that clip, except that you know exactly why he made that criticism. She is objectively right that many of the people in that crowd on January 6th were women. She's right in the broader point that white women have been throughout history active participants in upholding white supremacy, including white male patriarchy. That is simply indisputable. Tucker Carlson doesn't want you to focus on that reality, that indisputable reality. And so instead he turns it to talking about white women's need to perpetuate the white race. Why a cable news host is talking in that way might on its surface not make any sense. But if you maybe spent a couple of years spending time at Stormfront or on some of the darker parts of 4chan, you're probably familiar with that sort of language. Tucker Carlson and his writing team definitely are. And so now you don't need to go to those explicitly white supremacist websites to get your fill of absolutely horrific racism, you can just put on Fox News every single night and you'll hear the exact same sorts of monologues you used to have to go to a KKK rally for to hear. Now you just hear it on Tucker.
Yeah, I am going to show you a couple of sleight of hands that he did that are really interesting, but I want to go to Adrienne first for a reaction.
Yes, John, as you had noted, the whole thought that Tiffany Cross can't formulate sentences, they love to do that to Black people, particularly this thought that we're not quote unquote articulate, also phrasing that I hate. But also noticing this whole thought that Black people are instigating a race war or planning for a race war. They're essentially trying to set this up in some way so that his viewers think that they need to strike first. And that's the dangerous part, because it's essentially a call to action of, are you going to let this person do it first, or are you going to go ahead and get the jump on them? And so I think this is Tucker Carlson trying to create a situation in which he can go ahead and really instigate some type of race war. And he's using Tiffany Cross's conversation on her show as the means by which to get it done.
Yeah, so two things. So first of all, before I even get into the breakdown of all this, editor's note is that I'm no fan of MSNBC. I'm literally banned from MSNBC. I think MSNBC is a graveyard of progressives. That they're the biggest progressive killers in all of cable news. So I got no love for them. Now let's be honest with you guys about what you actually saw there, okay? So Tiffany Cross said this wing of white women who have been radicalized. So she was specific, not all white women, this wing of white women who have been radicalized. Tucker Carlson came back and said, she said all white women. Now, the audience actually heard the clip, right? But when he frames it in a different way, it erases their memory of that. And they go, yes, she said all white women. She hates us all, right? So that's sleight of hand number one. Then he's claiming she's racist because she mentioned a race as part of a larger sentence, okay, right? And then he says, oh, she's supposedly in communications. But guys, you've seen clips. Here, first of all, look at Herschel Walker, okay? The guy can't speak, right? So if he said about Herschel Walker, he's having issues speaking, I'd say, okay. You want to take it about a Democrat, no problem. There's a famous clip of Al Sharpton online, right? And he screwed up the prompter and it looks ridiculous. And if you go, it looks like he can't speak, you say there's at least a plausible logical connection, right? I don't agree, he screwed up the prompter, but plausible, right? But you saw Tiffany Cross with your own eyes, you heard her with your own ears. What she said was perfectly coherent. There wasn't a hint of anything being wrong with what she said. But you know, as if they can speak. Oh, okay. Then the most important sleight of hand, although actually there's two giant ones. One is, you see how they're starting a race war? No, I don't. No, she didn't say anything about a race war. You said race war. She didn't say it at all. She didn't come close to saying it. She said she's worried about a wing that is radicalized. And then the radicalized wing comes out and goes, you see how she wants a race war? The implied sentence after that is, let's give her one. Okay, so now the second one that's gigantic. And you see the sleight of hands right in front of you. You can even rewind and watch it, right? Tiffany Cross didn't say anything in that short segment that he played or in the longer segment, I watched it, anything about reproducing. But he said, oh, they're going after white women. Why? Because they're the ones that reproduce. And he said, that's why she's saying they're a threat to you over and over again. She never said they were a threat to you because they reproduce. You just made that up out of whole cloth. Reproduce, what the hell does that have to do with this conversation? Because he's trying to get you to think, oh no, they don't want us to reproduce. They're trying to kill us all.
Yeah.
They're trying to get rid of us. This is the white replacement theory. And then he has plausible deniability. Not for you and me. We're smart enough to figure it out. To us, it's super obvious. He's got plausible deniability for people who want to believe him.
Yep.
So they go, oh, well, no. Technically, he didn't say that. Technically, he said she was starting the race war. I mean, we had to strike first because they were going to come and get our women and our mothers, but he didn't. Hey, and he didn't say white replacement theory. He just mentioned that the white women reproduce, and they won't be able to reproduce anymore because of Tiffany Cross. And then what were we supposed to do? We had to take action. Which side is violent? Which one isn't? You can go all day long about that one guy at the softball field. 2,000 other cases are all right wing, right? And then they keep saying Second Amendment. Remember, they're coming for you. Don't let them come for you. No, this guy it's ironic because he mentions Rwanda later. This is Rwanda level propaganda. Yeah. Guys, the fascists aren't coming. They're right here. You just saw him. That was scary, massive demagoguery propaganda. Yeah. I'm super worried about it.
It's just telling your audience of millions of people they're coming for your white women.
I mean,
I'd love to know, is that this whole rhetoric, what we're describing, accusation in the mirror, where you're basically accusing the left of wanting to start a race war, to do these terrible things that in fact, that the right actually wants to do, and kind of that goading thing, that was first identified as messaging used in the Rwandan genocide. So to hear that Tucker Carlson is referencing the Rwandan genocide and clearly using the same messaging, it's like they are not hiding the ball at all. They are studying the past and the history of people who murdered, slaughtered, and killed people and exterminated people as though they were not human beings. Yep. He knows what he's doing. He's reading the research and he is regurgitating the dialogue. So he is calling these minions home, so to speak, so that they end up doing his bidding. This is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, and I'll just briefly, like, here's a hypothetical for you. Imagine if you found out that they did an internal review and Tiffany Cross, the producer that writes up her monologue every night, that types out the thing that she's gonna say. We find out that Tiffany Cross's producer has been for literally years living an alternate life online on the most racist, anti-white websites possible, calling people crackers and stuff like that for literally years. Imagine if we found out that. Imagine what Tucker would say about Tiffany Cross and her show and MSNBC, except that this is only kind of a hypothetical because that's what happened to Tucker Carlson. We found out that his producer who wrote his monologues was using the most explicit racist language online for literally years, amongst other misogyny and all anti-Semitism, all that stuff. And they fired him. Tucker Carlson went for a short bass fishing trip and then came back and you never heard anything about it again. And he gives explicitly racist monologues literally every single night. But again, it's Tiffany Cross that has some sort of problem.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear about one thing. We are not like them, ever, okay? So I want to be clear with our audience. Do not fall into any of their baiting. Don't strike first, okay? We don't, like he's a comic book villain at this point. It's unbelievable. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh, I get it now. Hitler would have never won without Goebbels. Because you have to get that third of the country that is in a mood to do anything and everything. And that's what he's doing every single night on the air. And so guys, we're in a super scary situation. But we don't strike first. That's not what we do. We don't act out. We don't do things that are physical or violent in any way, okay? If they do it, we have to uphold the law, okay? And you do it through a legal process. You don't get into vigilante violence. Number one, because it is immoral and wrong and unprogressive. And number two, because that's exactly what they want. Once things decay into vigilante violence, that's a right wing's dream come true. So do not ever go in that direction.
Yeah. If anything, call Snake Rocket.
Why'd you have to do that?
Okay, I love that. Damn it. All right.
Buzz in my head when I get home.
No, I'm sorry, guys. We got to do this real quick.
Last story?
Yeah, last story, but as quickly as we can.
Okay, I'm gonna speak Shapiro fast. Okay, get ready for this. Parents in Grant, Michigan have absolutely lost their minds as a result of a high schooler who was brought on to paint a mural for the public health sector of their high school. We're gonna give you their responses, but first, so that you can properly assess the response, here is the actual mural. A young sophomore girl was brought on to paint that. It shows doctors who are animals. It shows students, it has a heart that's been patched. But you might notice, oh dear God, rainbow leggings in 2022? Someone who has a trans flag on their shirt, well, that won't stand. And the vigilant parents of that area are not gonna let Evelyn Gonzalez get away with this. They lost their minds, and here are some of the things they said. One man called the mural discrimination against Christian beliefs, saying it's hate material. You know, the mural with the rabbit doctor is hate material. Another woman blasted the inclusion of the transgender flag, saying, when adults pretend things that are like real life, it's a mental illness. We need counselors. We need medication that's going to help bipolar disorder fix their brains. In a nation that is full of people her age who believe that every Democrat eats babies, that JFK Jr. is alive and well amongst us, that Robin Williams has been brought back from the dead to run as the next Republican president, that Trump definitely won the 2020 election. Yes, it's the high schoolers who need to get their brains fixed. Let's see. Evelyn Gonzalez responded to this at a meeting, a school board meeting that she was forced to defend her art at, saying, I put my art up there to make people feel welcome. Her explanation was not accepted by the parents, and eventually she fled the meeting in tears. After which, a parent decided to do a little victory dance, saying, I feel like she did a really good job finding excuses to defend the things she put on. None of us are that stupid.
Yeah, I agree to disagree. Yeah, you guys are lunatics. So you want to pick on a little girl who drew rainbows and happy people? You goddamn bullies, you monsters. You're bullying little girls now in schools, making them cry and go home. And saying, oh, we saw your secret plans and your secret drawings. You're goddamn lunatics. You've lost your mind. And you're talking about that innocent little girl fixing her brain? A third of the country should fix their brain. Jesus Christ. Guys, put up the picture of the mural, because this is a perfect Rorschach test. What do you see? I see smiling people. I see a young schoolgirl who drew things that were super pleasant. The Republicans now see the devil. They literally said this was satanic. You see the hand that stands for peace and stuff in the left-hand corner? I mean, like they're like, oh, what did you mean by that? Oh, that looks like it's Arabic. There's something wrong with that. I see Satan everywhere in this picture. That's what the right wing thinks. They've lost their goddamn minds. So, all right, I mean, look, if you see Satan in that picture, okay, all right, you're not one of us. Go, good luck with your life. I don't know how you function. I don't know how you put one sentence after another. I don't know how you hold down a job. But if you saw Satan in that picture, you're a goddamn lunatic. The rest of us see a perfectly lovely picture of people trying to get along. But it is a Rorschach test. Maybe you could try it at home. Try it over Thanksgiving. What do you see here? Right wing was like, yeah, Satan, Satan. I mean, they even criticize Stay Healthy. They're like, oh, doctors, yeah, right. We know their propaganda. Like there's some candidate that's supporting that Tulsi Gabbard endorsed, some lunatic. It says the doctors are evil now. How do you talk to these people? No. I mean, this is super dangerous times. A third of the country has lost their goddamn minds.
Yep, I agree. Some people, it just really seems that they need to have their eyes gouged out because they are not using them appropriately. It's incredibly pathetic to see how they would attack this child off of this mural, which is very warm and welcoming. And that's so incredibly, it's heartwarming to know that this child is already thinking in this inclusive mindset about, let me include other people. I wanna make sure that they know that they belong here, and giving people that sense of belonging. And yet these parents are willing to rip that away. It's really disgusting and super weird. And the US sucks.
Yeah, guys, just to be clear, because we are every time, that's a metaphor. No one should gouge anyone's eyes, okay?
Don't strike first on gouging out eyes.
Yes, and don't do it at all, okay? And now, let me be clear. If you bully little girls like that with your lunatic ravings, you're a monster. Get mental health counseling for all of our sakes. Okay, we gotta go. Adrienne, you're awesome. Everybody check her out at Rebel headquarters. She's amazing. John does damage report. Okay, I don't know why I do that every time. It's a great show. Check out Damage Report. And we're gonna take a quick break here and come back with a whole nother power hour. You're gonna love it. We'll be back.
Could it be Satan?
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.